When was the last time you done something like that with your dad?
Oh mate, like hardly ever.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. There's either someone else there or like it's a family thing. Do you know what I mean? So it's really nice.
Mm.
Well needed.
No, that's good, mate. I think, yeah, just like we said the other day, is like having that time just to be present, right, with someone.
Yeah.
And then bonding. Have you got siblings?
Yeah, I've got a sister, two half brothers. I spent a lot of time with my sister. So
All right.
yeah, but it was good, mate. It's good. You know, a lot of that has come out of the conversations that we've had, you know, beyond just the training. It's around how does it fit into my goals, what's important to me. And you know, off the back of the work we've been doing together, I realized that family was something I've been neglecting. So yeah, thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
Oh, of course, mate. It's nice to hear, right? Like I think they're way more powerful than just being in the gym.
Definitely.
Taking to a diet, it's like it gives you a more well-rounded sense of appreciation for your life, right? Because the relationship really are what you do inside the gym and then the things that you do outside, the relationship is such a big part of the quality of your life. And I think it's something that we don't nurture enough because obviously we get busy, especially when we're low energy as well, right? Like we've got other things going on, stress, them going out on the weekends, and that just seems like that takes a back burner.
And you know, the time that it's taking to train, I'm getting back significantly more time from how I feel, right? So some of the things I'm cutting out, some of the bad habits that used to would have taken a lot of time, maybe chewed into a weekend, how I feel, getting up earlier, sleeping better, more energy. The structure that I give myself gives me time to do more, right?
Yeah, it's like a compound effect, right? Like
yeah.
The non-negotiables of foundation. I think that's probably what that comes into, right? It's just you're building a foundation of health.
It's like everything's a bit of a blur, or it's like a bit foggy if you're not looking after yourself, right? So it's very easy just to do the minimal requirements, like go to work, do your job, eat your food, go to the pub with some mates. The easy stuff. It's almost like filler to fill the space. You clear that out and there's like a bit of clarity, and then you do things that are purposeful or meaningful, and that's kind of new. It's almost like new space, you know, like empty space that you then need to go and fill. We've spoken about this a lot, right? And like that's quite hard, and you know, can take you out of your comfort zone a lot. And you know, it's been a massive benefit of the work we've been doing together over the last few months.
I love that.
To be able to, you know, to make slight changes and see the drastic improvement from a training perspective or a diet perspective, some of that's maybe a little bit more visual, it's noticeable in yourself, you can feel it, right? To achieve that, then you're like, okay, well, I can apply this to everything, right? And things might not necessarily be as visible, like aesthetically, or you might not necessarily like instantly feel it, but it's that it could like improvement across the entirety of your life, right? It's more than just what you do in the gym, but it's the best way to show that you can do it, right?
Yeah, I agree with that, mate. I really do. Liam, just before, well, obviously we've started now, but just give people a rundown of who you are, what you do, and how you found this coaching service.
Yeah, so where was I before we started working together? Probably a good place to start. So, you know, I think I've trained on and off throughout my life, and I've, you know, a relatively healthy diet, but you know, I never really worried about anything. It was just like, oh, okay, you know, I'll eat a little bit of veg with some chicken and rice and that'll be fine or whatever, right? But I think over COVID, things got quite busy from a work perspective. There was that kind of isolated environment at home. Things started to slip a lot over the 2 years, and instead of prioritizing my health, I probably prioritized my work. Again, what I was saying earlier, like it's the easier thing to do, right? You just pile yourself into something that's there, rather than like do the harder things. So coming out of COVID, going back into a more sort of normal life, I didn't really alter that. And I was starting to feel tired, sluggish, just generally unhealthy, right? And it was getting to a point at my age where I was like, if I don't do something about it, this could just be me from into my 30s, and you know, and then it's very difficult to correct things. Around that time, and I was thinking, okay, I need to do something. Always struggled to kind of self-motivate myself, so I knew I needed to work with someone, at least initially, a good friend of mine who fairly similar, probably a little lazier, a little more unhealthy, hasn't really trained at all. Started working with you, obviously, as you know, Sam, and was seeing amazing results, was raving about what he'd been doing. It was looking great, sounded great, seemed to have made some big changes to his life, which to be fair to him, I take my hat off, because I never thought he would be able to do it. So I thought, well, bloody hell, if this guy can get Sam doing it, then I'll have to have a chat. So we had a little chat, and I think the work that you did, Billy, was just in line with where I'm at, what I was trying to achieve, something that I could fit in with my lifestyle. The work isn't going to go away, the pressure, the hours isn't going to change. How do I bring something into that and create some structure around that, whereby I then don't let it slip away in 6-12 months?
Becomes your life.
Exactly. And so we obviously had a couple of chats, and I just thought straight away, let's get into it. Let's get stuck in. I think it was just perfect timing from where I was at, and then obviously hearing about you through Sam.
So before joining, what do you think that you struggled with the most, especially with that time during COVID? What sort of patterns and habits were built for you that now you've had to come and adjust to change to get the results that you've wanted over the last couple of months?
Yeah, so I'd do the odd bit of exercise here and there just because I felt like I had to, but it was more of a chore than something I would have enjoyed. The bad habits were, it was working maybe a 12-hour day. You're at home, I was sat there, it was just really difficult to shut off. The laptop's kind of like shouting at you, right? Then I'd, smash a quick breakfast. I'd be sat at the desk. I might get out for a dog walk in the middle of the day, grab a takeaway at night, and then open a bottle of wine, and there might be some left by the end of the night, if not. And then that was just like rinse and repeat almost, like just every single day. And the days were blurred into each other. It was just like, wake up, when your alarm goes off, you're like, did I even sleep? Like, like just that horrible blur. But then it became the norm, right? So you then get used to it. So I didn't feel like it was tough and heavy, because it was just like, oh, this is just a normal Monday to Friday.
And it happens really quickly, I think. Where do you think you were at your most worst?
I mean, it was almost like the best way to describe it is I was like a twig that was being bent and hadn't snapped, but it was just about to snap. And that's when I realized, I was like, okay, I need to just take control of the situation and not, this isn't sustainable. Like, this is dangerous. And when we started working together, the changes weren't, I think a lot of what I got the most out of it was that you were never prescriptive. You gave guidance, advice. You were almost like a teacher, but you still wanted me to go and do the homework, right? So it wasn't like, here's all the answers. Here you go. Take this away. Here's your diet plan. This is when you need to get up. This is how much sleep you get. You'd give guidance and advice on things that work, the science behind it when I was curious, but you were really expecting me to go and implement things and make those changes. So there was no cheat code, right? It was no quick fix and you kind of just get overhauled everything. So I think me being able to own it with your guidance and you kind of steering me along the way, correcting me, really helped, and which is why I think it's something that hasn't slipped as other things have in the past when I've started programs.
Yeah, because you own it. That's the difference, right? A lot of people, you take a massive degree of the share of the work, as opposed to there's the program, there's the nutrition plan, go and follow it. It's look, these are the things that are coming up from your questionnaires. This is the plan, and this is the education behind it. And then it's a process of unfolding. And usually with that unfolding, you learn more because you've had to put the work in, because you've owned it. The idea of this is that really within 6 months, you should be able to be in a place where you're right, I know everything that I need to know. I can go out into the world and I can carry on doing this because I've got the know-how, but I've also got the understandings of doing this enough that I can be confident and secure enough in, I know what I need to do to be healthy and meet my goals.
Definitely. And it's, I think initially when we first started working, I would be like, oh, Billy's going to be annoyed if I've eaten this cake or whatever, right? Or Billy's going to be annoyed if I haven't met my calories or whatever it is, right? And I very quickly changed to me being annoyed at myself, right? Because and it was you'd never like, you'd always be like, okay, what can you do different? It's about these choices. It's about the balance. And it's like I said, you put the structures in play, but you're not there like you're not going to come in and tell me off like a teacher, right? It's more about being frustrated at myself, which is what I felt was the biggest shift compared to anything that I've tried to do in the past.
Yeah, that's amazing, mate. And I think it takes that parental, that teacher aspect out of it. It's like, right, we're doing this together. We're here to support you. These are the things that I see that you can critique, come through what we're seeing like week to week. And then you've gone away to make the changes, and you've done everything that we've put together through all of the programs. Then it's like, of course, like we have a life, right? We need to have balance within that. Like, not everyone here is to be like 8% body fat, because that's not where life happens. It's not where balance is made, right? Unless that's what you really want, is to be competition physique, then you wouldn't be working with me. You'd be working with another one of the guys here who, is that's their specialty.
I think what you do when you frame it like that, mate, is that you've set me up to succeed rather than set me up to fail, right? So we haven't set these lofty, unachievable goals that are going to require me to drastically change my lifestyle, cut social circles, stop going out with clients or colleagues, and stop having, going to the rugby for the weekend or whatever it is, right? That then end up boozing a load and never achieve what I set out to achieve. It's like, okay, you have this lifestyle. Yes, there are things that you can change. Yes, you can eat differently. Yes, you can cut down on the booze, and there are sacrifices you have to make if you want to see improvements. And, we're working on a lot of those, but the vast majority of my life has stayed the same. And you've set out the program aligned to my goals with realistic expectations. So I know what I'm going to achieve. I'm always making progress and getting closer to where we want to get to, where I want to get to, without thinking, why don't I look like this? Why aren't I, stripping all this weight or body fat? Why aren't I like walking around like, Hulk Hogan already? And then starting to get disappointed, and then starting to think that the training isn't working, or that it must be Billy, and I start to blame you, and then I make excuses, or I start going, I don't need to see you today, and and everything starts to fall apart. The structure stayed there so strong, like it had from the beginning. The honeymoon effect, I was waiting for it to phase out, and didn't, right? Because of the way that you set me up to succeed.
I love that, mate. That's amazing. And that's a sustainable approach. And I think that's once you have a sustainable approach, then of course you can go and do something like, it's just pick them, right? You've got this balance, you've got everything working for you, and then as your goals change, you can adjust to for periods of time. And it's just making sure that you're happy and whole first. And like I said, coming back off the injuries, which we haven't spoke about yet, but like the things that you've achieved like within 8 weeks have been massive. What have you learned about yourself during our time working together so far?
I mean, probably so that's a deep one. I mean, like a lot of, I feel like I know we're trained together, but I feel like this is something that I'm owning on my own. And we spoke about this a lot. I don't do a lot of stuff on my own.
Yeah.
And I've learned that I can do things on my own. Right? I can be independent. And that's been quite refreshing. I mean, I'm quite a sociable guy, right? But it's nice to be able to focus on me and prioritize me, have my own time, whether that's training or like something as simple as like building out my meal prep or whatever it is, right? Or just taking some time, just like stretching or whatever, right? But like sounds silly, but then I've taken steps forward to make that to apply that to different parts of my life.
Quite empowering, right? Like you're taken from a selfless perspective. It's like you have to have some selfishness to identify your needs.
Yeah.
And that just understanding you first, like, because a lot of people, not being there, right, we get wrapped up in everyone else.
Yeah.
And then what do we want? What do I want? What am I looking to achieve? And I think as we build outwards from there, again, it always comes back to having a whole life, having more balance within that, because you understand yourself from a better point. It's like, I know I probably don't want to be eating too much of that, so I'm going to probably have to prepare or think about what I'm going to do when I go away for a couple of days. I mean, like, it's like you're not going to go away because there's no life in that. But how do I make that thing more? How do I make that better for me and in alignment with what I want in regards to my goals?
100%. Yeah. Even to the point where I had a no weekend, right? I would always, someone says, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? I'd be like, yeah, overcommit for the weekend, right? It was like every weekend for the last probably 15 years. And like 2 weeks ago, I said no to everything. It was just a no. It was perfect. It was great, mate. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. I felt amazing after it.
you get time, right? You get time to recharge, you get time for yourself. And I think everyone's always in that battle of like, I haven't got enough time. And it's like, well, yeah, because you're probably not prioritizing what it is that you need. Yeah. That's not to say that you're completely isolated from everyone.
But yeah, you need it, right? That's the balance. That's what it all comes down to.
That's what it comes down to, balance. What would you say to someone that is in a similar position as yourself and is thinking about possibly joining this coaching program?
So I think for me, like, make sure that it's, if you want to do it, right? I would just say go for it, because for me, like I've often put things off and I'll do that next week. If you're in at that point, like I said, like you're breaking or whatever it is for you, someone's just going to need to change things a little bit. I would say don't try and do it alone, right? Do it with somebody that knows what they're doing. Do it with somebody that is going to be the right fit, right? And your transparency at the start was like, look, if I don't think I'm the right fit for what you're trying to achieve, I'll let you know straight away. So if that matches up with someone, what they're trying to achieve matches up with what you offer, I would say dive in head first. This has been one of the best decisions of my life, right? And in just a short time, the impact that it's had has been so significant. So I would say jump in, but then also commit, right? So it is, as much as I've spoke about use guidance and stuff, and it sounds easy, it's still hard, right? You can fit in with your life, great, and you can still go and have fun, do whatever. It's still hard, right? So you've got to commit. If you do it, I'd say dive in head first, but then commit to what you've decided to do. And that means getting the most out of what you offer. You can you can put everything on a plate, and if someone doesn't want to
can't leave a horse. You can't get a horse to drink, right? You can't leave.
Exactly. That's probably a better saying, right?
I completely filled that. I can't even remember what the saying is, but that's that saying.
Because it's hard work. It is still hard work, right? It's discipline. We train hard. There's a lot of learning about yourself, but about the science behind a lot of what you teach, if you want to learn that, or the methodologies and bringing that structure into play. It is tough, but obviously the support that you provide is invaluable. So I would say dive in head first, but then commit hard.
Yeah. Nice. And just give everyone some insight, like what's coming up for you, and what are you looking to achieve next?
I mean, I'm sure we've been speaking for 25 minutes. We haven't even spoken about training, right? It's like we don't go to the gym. It's like you're some life coach or something.
Honestly, we do train, honestly.
Which is the beauty of it, right? Because we chat and you provide that support, and it's more than just training, but obviously training and diet and that's is at the heart of everything that we do, right? And it's what's probably unlocked the other elements, which is why I'm talking about them first, because they're quite new. I think for me, it's how do we kick on? You started with, I had some injuries, as you touched on a second ago, and we prioritized them. Strength around my shoulder and knee, some flexibility, working on my movement a little bit, and that's stuff I've never done, right? It's stuff that I've never done from a training perspective, and I feel so much better from doing it. For us, it's okay, then where do we go from now, right? And this is where, again, you managing expectations, you set me up to succeed. It's okay, what do you want to achieve? Like, if you're just happy with this, you'll get fitter, you get stronger, you can get better, and we would still see progress. Or do you want to achieve something different? I think it would be good. What's next for me is, kind of put a bit of size on, get a bit stronger. But right now, I'm just enjoying the progress, right? The progress is significant. I'm saying, I've still got this lifestyle, but I'm noticing the difference. I've lost weight, I'm healthier, I'm sleeping better. I wouldn't mind if this just continued, right? And we just carried on with this. I think for us, maybe we've started working on this already. It's how do we start to build on that? And then from a training perspective is a little bit more around the physique now that we've worked on some of the flexibility movement and strengthening up those injuries.
Yeah, sounds good. Exciting times ahead.
Definitely, mate.
Brilliant. Liam, thank you for the last 5 minutes. Appreciate it. And I'll speak to you soon.
My pleasure, bro.